Hey there everyone, Jeff, your tabletop technician here on the Dice Tower. And folks, this video is going to be pretty different from anything that you've seen me do yet, because today I am joined by Offspring.
Hey everyone.
Jellyman, Offspring, Jellyman.
All right, so why don't you tell everybody what your name is?
My name is Melanie.
Okay, and how old are you?
I'm 9. I'm about to turn 10.
10?
Mm-hmm.
No one told me about this. I didn't get the memo. When's your birthday?
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. Can you believe this? And what grade are you in?
I'm in 4th.
Okay, and why don't you tell everybody what's your favorite thing in the world right now?
My favorite thing is sharks.
All right, so here's a bit of backstory. Mel was maybe about 3.5 when my wife and I started getting into board games. And of course, it didn't take long for us to want to find stuff that we could play with Mel. And in fact, that's how I found the Dice Tower, because I started looking for games that were good for kids, and I came across one of Tom's top 10 lists. Now, do you remember what some of our first board games were that you played?
Yes, I remember Outfoxed and my first Carcassonne.
Yep, my first Carcassonne, and then we also got you Hey, That's My Fish. And then we also got Pitch Car Mini, right? And I got the mini one so you could play with your little tiny hands. And then we also got a really big game. You remember which one that one was?
Fireball Island.
Fireball Island, that's right. We played that a lot of times, even when we were out with friends. Yep. So by now, of course, you've been playing games for 6 years, and you've gotten very comfortable with playing different games. And I have definitely seen that lately as we've tried to introduce some of her friends into some of the games that we like to play. In fact, just a few weeks ago, we were playing Taco Bell Party, which of course is a ridiculous party game. But when we were playing with one of your friends up the street, every time it came around to her turn, we had to really help her. We had to coach her through her actions and trying to figure out what to do. And it just made me realize how comfortable you've gotten with games versus some of your friends who probably just haven't experienced games yet. But I had the idea coming out of the summer that I wanted Mel to get to try some newer games, and not just more kids games or lightweight stuff, but I wanted to see how well she could tackle games that were a little more midweight, the kind of games that maybe my wife and I would play. I just wanted to be able to see what she could tackle. So we picked out 10 games. These were games that we either had or we had to go and kind of find. These were a little more challenging. They weren't kids games or childish games. Some of them had some bigger themes, maybe even some abstract games, and we're going to talk about them on this list. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. All right, so the first game that we played was Super Skill Ball of Cade 4. Okay, that was a train wreck. Why don't we try that again? Ready?
Ready.
Super Skill Pinball for Cade.
Crushed it. All right, this game is by designer, mathematician, and man, I would personally love to meet Jeffrey Engelstein, who was a common appearance on the Dice Tower podcast. Now, why don't you tell these folks why you picked this game as one of the first ones to tackle for this list?
I chose this game because I love going to arcades.
Yes, you do. And in fact, I can probably confess that already at 9 years old, I think she's been to more arcades than I was by the time I went to college. So you love going to arcades, and what do you like to play at arcades?
I like to play pinball games and racing games if they have some.
Yep, you love racing games. Our local brewery has a motorcycle game that I think you might be like top player on right now.
I only get second place.
Okay, well, we'll keep practicing. So yeah, you love to play pinball machines. I love to play pinball machines. And this is a pinball machine game, right? All right, so do you think you can walk us through how to play it?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So you have 2 boards that represent the actual game. And you have this little half of a silver ball that you move around your board. And on your turn, you roll 2 dice. And you pick one of the numbers from one of the dice. And then every turn, you might go down a slot. So there are 3 slots that you can go in. If you roll a 5, and there's a 5 on the area below you, you can go there.
Yep, and then you fill it in to indicate that you hit that spot, right? And then what do you do when you get down to the bottom?
When you get down to the bottom, there are 2 little flippers. If you have the number for one of the flippers, then you can go on to that number. You can normally fill in a flipper 4 times.
Yep, I think it's 3 or 4, yep.
And if you go on one, on your next turn, you can shoot up to any of the other 2 like levels. As long as, say, I did the red one.
You hit the red flipper.
You had to go to a red spot.
Yep, and then all those spots have, there's like different sort of markings around each of them. So some of them may have a solid line, they may have a dotted line, they may have 2 solid lines, and each one kind of has a different thing. You kind of have to remember, some of them, if I remember when they're dotted, you have to fill in all of them, and then you get a bunch of points, and then you erase them. And if there's a solid line, I think you can only use the double solid. You can only use those once per game, I think. And then if I remember, some of the solid ones, they reset when you lose your ball, right? Something like that, if I remember.
I don't remember.
Yep, and so you get the 3 different balls like most pinball machines, and then you've also got, you know, chutes that you've got to hit and different ramps that you've got to hit, and you're yawning in the middle of my clip.
Hey, let me fix these.
And I think it's worth mentioning that this is almost a solo experience. You're kind of all doing the same thing, and you can both just end up with very different results. But that was Super Skill Pinball for Cade. That was the first game in the series that we played. What was the next game?
Our next game was Canvas.
That's right, the next game is Canvas. Now, I'm not sure if it was you or me who picked this game to play. I also don't know if you remember helping me out to do a little video for this for the Dice Tower back in March of 2021. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I remember.
Let's take a quick look at that. That's amazing, isn't it?
Dad, it's crooked.
Thanks, daughter. Yeah, Dad just never wins on that one. Now, do you remember how to play this?
A little bit.
Why don't you tell folks how to play this one real quick?
So you will take cards from a display in the center of the table. You would take 3 cards to make a picture, and at the bottom you would match different symbols to get different ribbons.
That's right. So really, even though there's all these different, each card kind of has a different abstract piece of a picture on it, and then you're matching them together, like you said. You need at least 3 cards. Well, you need 3 cards. You can hold up to 5 in your hand. You're trying to organize them in certain patterns to trigger different ribbons when you turn in that picture. And then we did it where you put the picture on a little easel, and then we were, you know, sort of displaying it like at an art museum and trying to get different ribbons to score points. And I don't know if you remember, but you kind of kicked your dad's butt in this game, even though it was your first try, wasn't it?
It was.
Yep, and I know you definitely had a little bit of challenge trying to get the symbols right. I remember a couple times that you were going to play a picture, but you only got maybe 2 ribbons, and I would kind of help you see how you could reorganize to maybe get 3 or 4 different ribbons. Maybe that's why you won, I'm not sure. But it was definitely it was a pretty fun game, didn't you think?
Yeah.
What did you think of it overall?
I think it was really fun. Like all the art, it was very beautiful.
Yep, it was definitely kind of fun to try and put the cat in the window, scratching at something outside, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun making the different pictures.
Yeah. We also had a lot of fun, like making up like funny names.
Yeah, we kind of made up stories for our pictures. The cards will make their own names for you, but you can definitely kind of make a little backstory to your picture, can't you?
Yeah.
Now, what did you think about the fact that if you remember, when you want to take one of the cards, you have to put down those little painting pieces? You remember that?
Yeah.
And sometimes it was kind of hard to get the ones that you needed. Was that a challenge for you, or was that not really a problem?
It was definitely a challenge, just because you only have like, at the beginning of the game, you only have a limit of 8 of them.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't remember how many you start with.
And then as you go in the game, you get more.
Yep, you spend some, and then sometimes you get some back, and it kind of dictates which pictures you get to grab. But then maybe the one that you need, you can't afford at the time, and you have to hope it's still there when you need it, right?
Right.
Yep. All right, so for our third game, I wanted to pick out something that I knew you really enjoyed. Now, you like to play a lot of games on the Switch. In fact, we already talked about one of the other favorite types of games, which was
Racing games.
Racing games. And I thought it'd be interesting to mix a racing game with one of your other favorite board games. You remember which one that one is?
Yeah, Quacks.
Quacks. I can't stand Quacks. But I thought it'd be neat if there was a game that mixed racing with the game of Quacks of Quellenberg. And that game is Automobiles. Automobiles is a bag builder, kind of like the Quacks of Quellenberg, but it is a racing game. Now this one is a little bit more challenging to explain, so why don't I walk us through the rules of this one? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Automobiles is a bag building game, and it uses a board on the table with different sections of the track broken up, just like in games of, say, Downforce or Formula Day or Monza, where you're moving your car in each of these little sections. But instead of rolling dice or turning cards, you're pulling these cubes out of a bag that you kind of customize as you go. Now you've got these white through black cubes, and they represent the different gears of your car. The board will also show those same colors, so when you pull out those cubes, you're simply moving onto those spaces as you can. But there's also these colored cubes that come out, and some of them do different things, and in fact, each cube can have different cards that you use in each game, so you can kind of customize your game through each play. Some of the cubes may let you move a number of spaces depending on which position you're on in the race. Some of them may also let you move depending on how many of those same cubes are on other players' boards during the game. And each one's just kind of different. So you're trying to move around the track, trying to be creative in how you build your bag, trying to sort of get different setups going as you play, but it's also just kind of the luck of how you pull things out of the bag, just like the game of Quacks, right?
Right.
You also get these wear cubes that come out. So the more that you move on a single turn, the more wear cubes get added to your bag. And these things kind of clog up your bag. They're almost like the white chips in Quacks, because if you pull out too many of them, you just can't do anything on your turn. And so you're trying to use other cubes to get rid of the wear cubes. Sometimes you just have to do a pit stop action where you don't move at all, but you get rid of all your brown cubes, and you have to constantly kind of manage the wear of your car. This one was definitely a little more difficult for you. Now we played this game with Mom, and Mom kicked the daylights out of both of us in that race. What did you think of Automobiles?
I think it's just a bit too hard for me.
Yeah, and you know, even I can say that I struggle to understand how to properly build my bag in this game.
Me too.
And I think the thing that definitely makes it different from a game like Quacks, so at the end of each round of Quacks, you're just throwing all your chips back into your bag. But in Automobiles, you don't refill your bag until there aren't enough to pull out at the start of your turn. So that also changes your strategy, because it's not just a matter of throwing a bunch of stuff in your bag. You got to try and have enough diversity to get you from one turn to the next, and that makes things just very difficult. It's a very interesting game, so I definitely think this is a game that maybe would be better for you as you get a little older. Maybe you can kind of understand the strategies a little more, although I don't know, I'm 43 years old and obviously I didn't figure out the strategies, but definitely a game that we need a little more practice on, I think. All right, so that was game number 3 of the summer. I think we're going to get to number 4, but first of all, costume change. All right, so listen, we are recording this over a couple days because somebody is back in school, and I can't fit all these into one night because, well, if you didn't notice yesterday, this one kept yawning on set too the whole time. So I got her pumped full of caffeine, and we're gonna see how this goes. Now, I did mention at the start of this video that we played some games that we have, and we also played a couple games that we didn't have. And to check those out, we went to one of our favorite places, Unplugged Games Cafe, which is down in Midlothian, Virginia, just south of Richmond. Unplugged has several hundred games to play. They've got food options, everything from a kid's menu to a nicely stocked bar for the grown-ups. They've got ice cream. And one of the things that they do that I really like is a lot of their staff members can even teach you how to play some of the games. They taught us how to play Dragomino. They taught us how to play Clank, which I played with our friend Miss Brittany. And so that's really nice. You can kind of go down there. You don't have to worry about trying to teach yourself a game or burying yourself into a rule book while everyone else around the table gets a little rowdy. So we went to Unplugged. What was the first game that you picked out?
I picked out Cascadia.
All right, Cascadia. This was a sequel to the game of Calico about making
Quilts for cats.
Quilts for cats. So Cascadia is sort of a tile laying game. Why don't you walk us through how to play this one?
How you play is it's a tile laying game. So you get habitat tiles to make like a board, and then you get wildlife tokens. For the habitats, the way that you score is the largest ongoing
Contiguous.
habitat.
Yep.
And if you have the longest river of all your opponents, then you get some points. And then wildlife, they score in a unique way.
Yep, so each of the wildlife tokens will have their own way of scoring throughout the game. And there's a bunch of different cards for each animal type. And so you have to kind of fulfill their requirements throughout the game. So like I think we played the base version where you want to have like the longest string of salmons. And what do we have to have for bears? Pairs, or as I kept calling it, pars of bars. And the whole game was just pars of bars and what we're going to do with all these bars and bars all over the bars and bars of pars of bars.
Sad.
What? So, yeah, that was basically the game. You're trying to lay out the habitat tiles. You're trying to just kind of make a big patch of those, and each one has certain requirements of which animals can live there, and you're trying to build the different combos of the wildlife tokens. Now, this game, I think you liked it. I did beat you at it, but there's a lot to kind of work through in the game. What did you think of it overall?
I thought it was really cool, like really fun to play with family. I like to collect a lot of things and make, like, I liked that you got to make continuous habitats.
Yep.
And I like to collect the different animals because, you know, I love animals.
That's right. You do like animals quite a bit, and there are a lot of animals in this game. I do kind of wish that maybe those animal tokens were transparent. Kind of let the art of those habitat tiles come through underneath a little better. They're kind of, the wildlife tokens are kind of big, and it kind of makes it a little difficult to see the habitat art coming through. But yeah, lots of animals in this one, and it is a very pretty game on the table. The scoring is pretty unique. There's a lot of replayability, and we should have this game pretty soon. It should be coming to us along with their newest release, Verdant. So we're going to get to play both of those here pretty soon.
Yay.
Now, Cascadia is pretty thinky. This was, it was a little bit of a thinky game. It's not quite as maybe lucky as Calico, but you definitely had a lot that you had to think about. So for the next game, game number 5, we took something that was a little bit more lighthearted, a little more goofy. And what was that game?
We were playing King of Tokyo.
King of Tokyo. So a little funny confession on this game. I've actually never played this game before. This was one of the first games I was ever invited to play with some friends, and I didn't feel like it at the time, and I kind of missed that opportunity to start getting into the gaming hobby, which may have been a good thing. Come to think of it, financially speaking. But anyways, we played King of Tokyo there at Unplugged. You want to tell everyone very briefly how to play this game?
Sure.
Go for it.
This is a dice rolling combat game. And you will take turns attacking the city and each other. As you're fighting, you are racing to get to 20 points.
Yep.
Also, you can have special powers that you buy with energy.
That's right. Yep, a lot of people kind of call this Battle Yahtzee. I know you haven't played Yahtzee before, but it's kind of a dice chucking game where you're trying to get different combos of dice and trying to get things to go certain ways. Now, there's 2 ways to get points in this game. You get points at the start of every turn that you're in the city. You can also get points rolling dice, right? Now, would you like to tell these people what you did on your very first turn?
I got 5 points because I got 2 2s.
3 2s.
3 2s and 3 3s.
That's right, on your very first roll. And I thought, well, this game's over. And I was pretty much right, because I never caught back up to you, and you won this one pretty well, didn't you?
I did.
Do you remember which character you were?
Yes, I was the cat one who has claws.
Yeah, I think it's Cyber Kitty or something like that, if I
Cyber
recall.
Kitties.
And I was kind of like the monkey or whatever the heck, which is probably appropriate if we think about it.
I kind of want to call it Godzilla.
Yeah, it was kind of like a robot gorilla or something like that. Anyways, so yeah, you definitely won this game. This game's a kind of a lucky, silly, dice rolling game. What did you think of this overall?
I thought it was pretty fun, like fun to hit each other, fun to see what your dice roll is. This is basically like an all about luck game.
Yep, yeah, it's kind of and it's even kind of a push your luck maybe sometimes, because you can hold certain dice between rolls, but you don't know what you're going to get. So maybe you kind of wind up with a bunch of nothing, or maybe you roll 5 points on your very first turn. Who knows? Yeah, lucky little brat. All right, so that was the first round of games that we played at Unplugged. Up next, we played a game that we actually played at a local brewery that we like to go to called Origins here in Ashland. And which game was that?
We played lanterns.
Lanterns. All right, so here's a quick bit of backstory on this game. This was actually one of the first games that your mom and I played at a game cafe in Athens, Georgia, called The Rook and the Pawn. You were down visiting your grandparents, and we went out for a little date weekend in Athens and just completely found this place by accident. This was the first game that we played there, and we actually really liked it. Now, Lanterns is maybe a little bit more complicated, so how about I walk us through the rules on this one? And you stop yawning. Lanterns is another sort of tile laying.
This one just started laughing. I can't stop laughing.
You seem to have the same problem with gas. All right, so this is another tile laying and sort of a set collection game, and this is based on the Harvest Festival in Japan. And what you're doing is you're laying out these very colorful tiles that show up to 4 different colors on each side. You're placing them in a way so that you get a lantern for every side that's facing you. Your opponents get the lantern of the side that's facing them, and if you build any color combinations or pairs of colors, you'll get extra lanterns from that. Also, if you match any of the tiles that have a platform on them, then you get a favor token, and you can turn in favor tokens at the start of your turn to exchange one color of lantern for another lantern. Now, the reason that you're collecting these lanterns is that you're trying to get certain sets of them, either 4 of a kind or 3 pairs or one of all 7 colors. And when you do so, you turn them in for one of these scoring tiles, and they'll give you points that actually decrease as the game goes. So you're trying to sort of race, right? You're trying to get these tiles before your opponents do, so you can get the most points for turning them in. So it's this very pretty, colorful game, and also I think I'll mention that in the default or in the base game, you get these little cards that represent each of the lanterns. But because your mom and I enjoyed this game so much, when we got our copy from someone here in town, I 3D printed these really cute little lanterns in each of the different colors. So we played this at Origins, as we mentioned, and first your mom and I were going to play, and then you kind of weaseled your way into this game, if I remember, and your mom just kind of let you take over, and then you beat me at it. So what did you think of the game of Lanterns?
I thought it was very colorful, and I think it's just cool to see all the different colors on all the different tokens and tiles. And I think the way that you made the little lanterns, I think that was a really cool and cute idea.
What did you think of trying to sort of plan out which tile you're going to place or how you're going to place the tiles to get the different colors so you could kind of beat me to the different scores? Was that fun and exciting?
Yeah, it was.
Yep, and a pretty interesting challenge, which you must have done okay at because you beat me at this one, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
All right, so that was Lanterns. Now for the next couple of games, so we went on a vacation back in August, just towards the end of summer for your mom's birthday. We went to the Lakeside Lodge in Raccoon Creek State Park in western part of Pennsylvania. And of course, I had to bring a whole ton of games with us, because it's kind of what I do, right? I think I had 2 huge bags of games that we brought with us, most of which I either just played solo or your mom and I played a bunch of games. But there were 2 in particular that we dragged you in on. And these were games that, well, at least this next one was one that I really was curious how you were going to react to. And you remember which one that was?
No.
Way to read off the script, daughter. Do you remember what the game is now?
Yes, Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride, that's right. Now, another little backstory on this game. This was actually the first board game that we ever collected. Because you see, we were at a Toys R Us. You were about 3 years old, like we talked about at the beginning of this video. Your mom saw this on the shelf and she said, hey, I've heard about this game. I heard that it was pretty good. I think we should try it out. And I said, do you not remember the big Monopoly fight from a bunch of years ago? Are you sure this is a good idea? But she convinced me to get it, and we played it, and we had a blast at it, and of course that sort of got us into the whole hobby of board games. That is why we have all of these now. That's right. So, I think you can walk us through how to play Ticket to Ride?
Yeah, of course.
All right, go for it.
So in this game, you are building routes to get trains from one city to another. So you collect cards that have different colored trains on them. There's purple, red, pink, and more.
Yeah, there's a lot of colors.
Yeah. And there are rainbow trains. That means that they're wild. They can be any color. I think there are like 7 colors.
Something like that.
And you pay cards of the same color train to place your trains between 2 different cities. And each route that you make scores some points. You also have these destination goals. So there are 2 different cities, and you have to create like different routes to get there.
Yep, so it may be like Pittsburgh and San Francisco, right?
Right.
And if you can build multiple routes that connect those 2 cities, then you get those points at the end of the game. And if you don't, do you remember what happens?
You get negative points.
That's right. So this game, when we played this, the 3 of us at the cabin, Daddy did come in first place, but you kind of clobbered your mom in this game, didn't you? And if I also remember, you had something like 4 or 5 different destination goals, and didn't you get all of them?
Yeah.
Yep. So what did you think about Ticket to Ride?
I thought it was a very fun and colorful game. I have 2 favorite parts of this game. One, I liked placing down the colorful trains.
Yeah, those are pretty fun.
And 2, I liked to meet my goals.
Yep, trying to match your destination goals and get those done. And what I thought was really neat too is that, you know, we're all fighting on the same map. We're all trying to connect different routes. And there were a lot of times when, you know, we might have blocked you from a different route, maybe just kind of by accident, and you were sitting there trying to figure out how you could still connect 2 cities together and still finish your destination goal. Yep, so that was definitely pretty fun. Now, the next game that we played at the lodge was one that I had to fight tooth and nail to get you to play. You've been avoiding this game for a long time. Do you remember what this one was called?
Yes, Stuffed Fables.
Stuffed Fables. Now, the reason I've been trying to get you to play this game is that one of your other favorite games is...
Cora Quest.
Cora Quest, that's right, by Cora and Dan Hughes. In fact, I got to meet Dan Hughes at the Dice Tower Retreat recently. Cora Quest is this dungeon crawling game. It's fairly light, you know, it's kind of a family weight game, and you're moving around a board, and you're fighting monsters, rolling dice. Now, Stuffed Fables is certainly a bit more involved than Cora Quest. You still have different standees, different characters that you represent. It is a cooperative dungeon crawling game, so you're moving through a map. Now the map is represented on a booklet, right? It's kind of a spiral bound booklet, and each page is a different chapter of the story. You actually work through multiple pages in just one game. You've got different characters that you're playing. You've got little miniatures that you get to use in this game. All of the enemies have little miniatures. There's little spiders and creepy animals that you're up against.
Yeah.
But this was a game, you know, you're still rolling dice like Cora Quest, but the dice do a lot more in this game. They actually are what let you move. They're how you fight as well. You can also do things in this game like you can encourage other players by giving them some of your dice. You can also give them some of your health, which was a little harder to do in Cora Quest, to kind of heal up other players.
Yeah.
But this game can also be played with older people. You don't have to play this one with kids. I mean, you don't have to play any game with kids, quite frankly, but this game is a game I think that older people can enjoy as well. In fact, I have some friends more my age who like to play this game just on their own. And so it's a good way to get into kind of those dungeon crawling games without having all that fiddliness of a game like Gloomhaven, all the different pieces, all the different things that you have to track or manage. So we finally did play this game. We did finally get through the story. It was, like I said, multiple pages that we played through. And when we were done, what did you finally say about Stuffed Fables?
I actually liked it.
Do you remember why you liked it?
Because I just think that the little characters that you are, your little like stuffed creatures, they have fun names, they have fun like little looks.
And they kind of have a neat story. You're trying to save that little girl that you are the toys of, right? It's almost like kind of Toy Story in a board game.
Yeah.
And the stories are pretty neat too. And I was reading off all the stories and trying to do some different character voices. We definitely had to plan out our turns, just like we do in Cora Quest. We kind of had to work together and trying to figure out what we were going to do. And there's also some branching stories, so you can do things one way or you can do things a different way, but you kind of have to work together to figure out which result result you're going to go for, right?
Right.
All right, so that was Stuffed Fables. I think that was game number 8 on our list. Is that right?
Think so?
I think so. So we only have a few more left to go, don't we?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to those. But first of all, costume change! Here we are on the third and final day of filming of the 10 games that we played this summer, and we're on to 9 and 10. Now, for these games, we did go back to Unplugged Games Cafe down in Midlothian, which we already mentioned, and we did go in with a list of games we wanted to try and check out. We did only get to 2 of them. Which was the first one?
The first one was Dice Forge.
Dice Forge. Now, this is kind of an interesting, it's an abstract, definitely a sort of a dice chucking game. Why don't I walk us through this one real quick?
Sure.
All right, so in Dice Forge, you've got 2 dice that you're rolling constantly throughout this game, and they give you different resources. They'll give you gold, they give you blue things and red things, which were moon shards and sun shards, I think, and then you can get victory points. But what's interesting about these dice is that as you go, you can use the gold that you get from the dice to purchase new faces for the dice. You literally pop off, and you pop new ones on like Legos, and then you roll it just like any other dice. And that is kind of interesting, right? You get to customize your dice, you get to change the game as you play it. You're using those different colored shards to then do these heroic feats, it says, which is really just buying cards with the different resources. And those cards can give you extra points, they can give you different size to put on your dice, they can give you, little things to work for. There's a little gold mine that you can get that you're trying to filling up with your excess gold throughout the game. And that's really kind of it. I think it only plays over 3 or 4 rounds, at least in a 2-player game, and you're just trying to see who can buy the most cards and get the most points before it's over. So what did you think of Dice Forge?
I just didn't think it was that interesting. I mean, putting the little tiles on the dice, I thought that was kind of fun. But the rest of the way, it was just a little bit harder for me to catch up.
Yeah, it definitely is a game I felt. So in a 2-player game, not all of those dice faces are available. You have to take some of them out of the tray, right?
Right.
And if some person gets, one of the players gets those ahead of time, it might be awfully kind of hard for the other player to catch up. And I did manage to get a lot of those die faces early, and was able to just kind of keep buying stuff and keep doing things throughout the game. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting was that some of the cards that come out, only so many of them can be used in a different player counts. I got a lot of them ahead of time, and then even got to the point towards the end of the game that I didn't even know what to do. I'd kind of bought everything that I could buy, and I was just rolling dice to get points. It was an okay game. I think it was neat, like you said. I think changing out the dice was pretty neat. Was there anything else that you liked about it? How about the art? Did you like the art or any of the pieces?
I thought it was actually kind of scary.
Because of all the monsters and worms and slugs or whatever was in it. Yeah, it was, I think it's pretty neat looking art, but it's also very abstract, right? You don't actually feel like you're fighting monsters, you're just paying resources to get cards, right? The other thing that's, I think, pretty important in this game is you can take an extra action if you spend 2 of the blue things, the moon shards, and I think if your other players do that more than you do, same thing, it's just going to be really hard for you to win this game. Anyways, that was number 9, or I should say our 9th game. That was Dice Forge. This one took us a while to get through because, for one thing, the box was kind of a mess. The cards are all over the place, and one of the dice had been chewed on by a dog.
Yeah.
So it took us a while to get through that game, but we did have time to get one more out on the table, the last game of the series. And do you remember which one that was?
Our test game was Kingdomino.
All right, so Kingdomino, this is another one of the tile-laying games that we played on this list, and I like this one because it's not quite as lucky as a lot of the other games that we played. A lot of these games still had lots of rolling dice or pulling things out of bags, a lot of things that still have luck, and it can make it kind of hard to be balanced with 2 players, right? So I was glad for this game that was a lot more strategy-based. It's a lot more just, picking the tiles that you want to take, right? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about how to play Kingdomino?
Sure. So, like you said, this is a tile-laying game. We have multiple tiles that we'll place down in our kingdom. Each tile has 2 different types of landscapes on them. When you take a tile and place it in your kingdom, you have to match up one type of landscape with the exact same type, but one that's already in your kingdom. At the end of the game, whatever type of land has crowns, you will add up those. You will count all the spaces that are all of one type, and then however many crowns you have, that's how much you multiply it by.
Yep, and that's how many points you get for each landscape, right?
Right.
All right, so what did you think about Kingdomino?
I thought it was very fun. And I thought, like, the art, I thought it was actually really cool.
Yeah, you liked that some of the tiles had, like, shadows of dragons on them.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of neat little, like castles and buildings and such all throughout the place. Yep, houses. I think some of the water tiles had, like, dinosaurs in them under the water. That was kind of neat. This game is also really fast. Even though we didn't have a lot of time left when we were finishing up this game, we still managed to play it twice in one sitting, and that was really nice. It's even in a two-player game, you can actually split up and play 2 games with the same total of tiles. You can basically use half the tiles for the first game, half the tiles for the other game. There's also some bonus rules that you can play with. You can play either, you can build a larger kingdom, which would take more tiles. You can get extra points at the castle. Your castle ends up in the center, and there's some other things that you can get. Yeah, I definitely think this is a pretty fun game. So that was the 10, right? The 10 games that you played this summer. And now I think, because we are on the Dice Tower, it's time to rank them, our top 10 games of summer. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. All right, so for this top 10 list, I just want to point out that there is no script. I do not know what the list is. I had Mel prepare this last night, completely secret to me. She's got them written down in front of her, kind of Tom Vassell style, right?
Right.
And you're going to reveal to me what your top 10 list is. We're going to start with number 10. This is the game that you either liked the least or didn't like, whatever, of the list. And we're going to go to number 1.
Okay.
Are you ready to do it?
I'm ready.
All right, tell me and everyone, what was your number 10 game?
My number 10 game was automobiles.
Automobiles, yep. That didn't really surprise me too much. This was the bag building racing game. You definitely struggled with this one. Heck, I struggle with this one still. Was there anything in particular that you, what was there anything about the game that you did like?
Well, I just liked that it was like one of my favorite games, Collective Quedlinburg.
Okay, so you like the bag building element of it. That makes sense. And it was a racing game. Did you at least feel like you were kind of racing, even though maybe you couldn't always go the way you wanted to?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed racing games.
Yep, well, we got a lot of racing games. In fact, since then, we played Formula Day. That was the dice rolling game where you got to shift the gears. Remember that one? And I did win that one too, but boy, you kicked your mom's butt in that one. She was like smoking across the finish line, if I remember. All right, so that was number 10. I think I was not surprised by that choice. Why don't you tell us now what number 9 is?
Number 9 is Dice Forge.
Dice Forge. All right, yep, that doesn't surprise me either, because this game definitely, it held you back a little bit, I think, because I got those really good die faces. It was kind of hard for you to catch up. Was there anything about this one? You told us that you liked changing out the die faces. Anything else you want to tell us about it?
No, not really.
That kind of covered it, huh?
Yeah.
All right, well, moving on. We're rocking and rolling here. What was number 8?
Number 8 was King of Tokyo.
King of Tokyo. Okay, that kind of surprises me. I thought this one might be higher up your list. Why do you think this one made your number 8?
I actually thought of it just because it was a little bit tricky for me to do all the things I wanted.
Like what? What do you think? What did you want to do that maybe you didn't get to do in King of Tokyo?
I just wanted to be able to move more places other than just a city.
Okay.
There are only 2 places you can go, outside the city and inside.
Yep.
I just thought I just wish that there were more places to go.
That'd be kind of interesting. I think there are more places to go if we played in a bigger game. There's extra spots on the map. I think you need 5 or 6 players for that. The other thing I thought was, they had those special powers. I don't think you even got any of those special powers.
I don't think
You
so.
hardly ever rolled any of those lightning bolts. You're too busy punching your dad and getting points.
Yeah.
All right, so that was number 8. How about you tell us what number 7 was?
Number 7 was Cascadia.
Cascadia at number 7. Well, I thought this was going to be a little higher on your list. All right, so why do you think this one landed at 7?
I just thought, just because it's a little bit harder for me to get all the tokens and tiles that I needed.
Yeah, I mean, this one is definitely one where, each card, each animal having different requirements. You got to kind of remember what all the animals are doing. I think there were a couple times that we were playing that I was like, well, do you want to do that, or do you maybe want to do this instead? And I was trying to kind of help you to grab some extra points. But
yeah.
You did like the game, though, right? I think this was definitely a game that you enjoyed. And like I said, we do have it coming. Is it a game you think you'll play some more?
Yes, definitely.
That sounds good. I'm looking forward to playing more Cascadia with you. All right, that was number, what was that, 7?
Yes.
All right, I got this. I'm doing good. I'm keeping up. Let's do number 6.
Number 6 was Lanterns, the Harvest Festival.
Harvest Festival, Lanterns, number 6. I am surprised that this beat Cascadia. So tell us what you liked about Lanterns.
I just thought that, all the artwork, I just thought it was really cool and pretty.
It is a very pretty game. I do agree with you on that one. And in fact, I have a picture. I'll show it here on the screen. When your mom and dad were down in Disney in Orlando a couple years ago for a concert, we were at this area that had a river that ran through, and they actually had lanterns on the water. They were fake. They weren't like floating lanterns. They were kind of built into the river, but they were lit up at night, and they were super pretty. The other thing I think with this game is because we've got those 3D printed little pieces that I made, and we'll show those here too. This is one of those games where we've played this at some restaurants and bars. We played it at a bar when you and I played this, and it's the kind of game that people just walk by and they see all those pieces and all those colors and they go, what is that? What are you playing? So it's definitely a very pretty game. And like I said, I think you won this one too. So you're going to play some more lanterns then?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, that was number 6?
No. Oh, wait, yes.
Score 1 for the dad man. All right, let's do number 5. Hit me up.
Stuffed Fables.
Stuffed Fables, number 5. Okay.
I actually kind of thought it would be a little bit more down.
Yeah,
But
you fought so hard not to play this game, and we finally, I think we had to gamble with you.
Yeah.
You can have dessert if you play Stuffed Fables or something. So what did you like about this one?
I just thought that since we are a team, this is actually the first in a while team game that I've played.
Yeah, I mean, we've got pretty much this and Core Quest. That's about it, right?
Yeah, and since I don't really like competing against each other, I feel like when we work together to save the little girl.
You like that a little bit more than competitive games. Okay, that checks out. Your mom kind of likes co-op games too. That makes sense. All right, that was number 5. Number 4, we're getting there.
Kingdomino.
Kingdomino number 4. Yeah, I really like this game too. And I was actually, when I was doing some of the filming for these games that we played at Unplugged, I was checking out Queendomino, and we might have to try out that game too. I know there's a little bit more to it, but it does sound kind of interesting. We might have to check out Queendomino, and I'm gonna actually try and see about getting us a copy of Kingdomino, I think.
Okay.
I think we'll have to add that one to the collection because it's a pretty fun, easy, lightweight game that, like I said, it's really fast. Yep, yeah, that would work pretty well for traveling. It's a small box.
Yeah.
What else did you like about it, though? I keep talking. What did you like about the game?
I thought that I just like to place down tiles and build my kingdom because I like royalty a lot. So I think this game is a perfect game for me. Okay.
Sounds good. That was number 4, Kingdomino. Hit us up with number 3.
Canvas.
Canvas, number 3. God, I forgot this was on the list. That's pretty high for Canvas. Tell us what you liked about this one.
I just love making my own art because I feel like a lot of times when we have art at school, I just feel very artsy.
Okay. And you do. You've always kind of liked creating stuff and doing a lot of drawing. We've got one of those refrigerators with a TV on it. You're always doodling pictures on the refrigerator.
Yeah.
I've never seen a girl stand in front of a closed refrigerator quite as much. Well, that's cool. And there is a new expansion coming out for Canvas here pretty soon. Road to Infamy Games has been advertising the daylights out of this one. I guess we'll have to get that expansion too, won't we?
Yeah.
Because we did play this Canvas with the expansion. I should mention that with the first expansion. So there's a second one coming out. We'll have to grab that. All right, that was number 3. Here we go. Number 2.
Super Skill Pinball 4K.
Ah, we got through that name on the first try. Good job.
I read it off the paper.
Okay, well, hey, we'll take what we can get. There you go. Take the bow. All right, so what'd you like about this one? Besides the obvious, it's a pinball game, it's arcades.
I just thought moving the ball up and down was pretty fun. I like always hitting flippers and like the little bumpers at the top. I just thought that was a really fun and unique game.
Yep, it is definitely pretty unique, and I think there should also be bonus points if you go ching ting, ba ting ting, ba ting ting ting, like while you're playing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to work that into the rules. Jeff Engelstein, if you're paying attention, add sound effects to the rules. All right, let me see. I think I remember the one game that we're missing. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody what the number one is?
Ticket to Ride!
Ticket to Ride. I would never in a million years guess that my 9-year-old daughter would place Ticket to Ride at the top of the games that she played this summer. That is pretty neat. So tell us what you loved about this game.
Well, overall, I just loved milking tracks, trying to reach from one place to another. And I just think that the art on the cards and the details on the little trains, I thought that was really, really cool.
You're gonna make me go buy the real fancy trains, aren't you? You know, at the Dice Tower, in the Dice Tower library, they have a copy of this with super detailed little trains.
I want to go.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right, so that was your number one, Ticket to Ride. I guess we're going to play that one again here soon, aren't we? We've also got the Ticket to Ride Pennsylvania United Kingdom version. I'm really looking forward to trying that one out. Anyways, that was our top 10. That was Mel's top 10 games of summer. Thank you everyone for tuning in and checking out this list. I hope that you and your kids get to play some great games together as well. Until then, I'm Jeff.
I'm Melanie.
And you are watching the Dice Tower. We'll see you later.